Hey y'all, I'm Naomi, the Joyful Shaman, and welcome back to another episode. This week, as I am actively recording this, I am sitting in my home here in Central Florida, waiting as Hurricane Milton comes barreling down our Central Florida corridor. And this week's episode is going to be titled Rock You Like a Hurricane. And I'm going to be sharing some stories about hurricanes as I was growing up, my perceptions, conditioning from living in Louisiana and then moving to Florida, and then now my perspective as a shamanic healer, and actually the channeled message that I receive about the hurricanes that have been battering Florida since August. So here we go. Put your seatbelt on because we're riding into the storm. So right now, Hurricane Milton is barreling towards the Gulf Coast of Florida, and it is currently a Category 4, but they're saying it should lessen to a Category 3. And because I'm about 75 miles inland, I live in the highest part of our city, and I'm in a more modern home, and there's no possibility of flooding. I'm not really scared. And that's because I've ridden out so many hurricanes. I've ridden out tornadoes. I've ridden out whatever you can possibly think of outside of volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis and typhoons. I've been through the storm, literally, figuratively, all of the above. So I don't necessarily have fear at all. And what I do expect is some inconveniences. I do expect that the internet will go out, the electricity will go out, maybe during this recording as well. But I don't have fear. And I think this is the first time in my life during hurricane season, I'm not doom scrolling and I'm not being fueled by the anxieties, which are very human behaviors of others. That's because I feel like I'm very grounded into the earth, into nature, into my spirit, into myself. And also, I think because I had a dream about this particular hurricane back in August. And I will get to that in a moment. So I'm just going to start this episode talking about hurricanes growing up. If you've listened to my other episodes, you know that I grew up in southern Louisiana in Baton Rouge. And the first hurricane that I remember was Hurricane Andrew, and I think that was 1992. I was 5 years old. We were living in our small two duplex, real small. And I remember, I think my grandparents had come in from Lake Charles with us. This is what I can remember. But I remember us being all huddled with our little transistor radio in the living room and listening to the weather and listening to the radio and just hearing those wild lightning, thunder crashes, the lightning outside the windows, and then the pressure against the windows. That was a very powerful hurricane. We didn't have electricity. We had stocked up on batteries and flashlights. And because I was 5 and, my sister was 3, I think it was more of like fear of scary noises and don't understand what's happening outside that made me kind of be like, ooh, okay. But there really wasn't much more than that. I will say that I think my parents were very well grounded at that time, trying to keep us calm, trying to say everything's okay, and really non-stop prayer. I can remember my grandma non-stop praying for protection, praying that the storm would end, praying for this, praying for that. And that gave me a sense of like security, growing up in a very religious household. Fast forward to us moving to Florida in the late 90s, and going to school. And I remember a few hurricanes coming through, and we had a house, with a pool and the pool cage and all of that. And I think it was more of like draining the pool so that as the rains came, it wouldn't overflow and get into the house. But we weren't really afraid either of the storms. It was until 2004, 20 years ago, when I was starting my 11th grade year of high school. There was hurricanes that came in the month of August. I think it was 3 in a row, very much like what Florida's experiencing right now, but just in October. And it was a lot. At the time, I was like, sweet, I'm not going to school. I don't have to do homework. I can stay home. The not so great part was not having electricity for a couple of days, being hot, being miserable, arguing, fighting with my mom and my sister, just, being unbearable in that aspect. During one of the biggest storms, Hurricane Charlie, I remember being afraid of the thunder and the lightning. Also, I had started to become afraid of tornadoes. Now, I will say tornadoes were common in Baton Rouge from time to time. I don't think that I can remember having a tornado be around my house, but around the area and listening to the sirens and the warnings, yes. But I really, I was so small, I didn't quite understand what was happening. So now I think as an adult, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of tornadoes. It's more of the unpredictability of, a tornado is right there. You don't have a lot of time to prepare and run to whatever is the safest part of your house away from windows and stuff. And so I think during Hurricane Charlie, that was my biggest fear, quote unquote, was the tornado, possibility of tornado. I love the movie Twister. And so I think it's just imagining all the windows busting in almost slow motion in the house. And you're just like, whoosh, Matrix getting blown away and glass all over you. Like, this was, a projection, an illusion of my mind of the worst possible scenario. I was catastrophizing things. I'm a teenager, and you're hearing what they're saying on TV. My parents have the Weather Channel on nonstop. They have the news station nonstop. And me, all I cared about was, am I going to school? Because if I'm not, I'm going to sleep in. I'm just going to hang out, whatever. And I remember when Hurricane Charlie was barreling through our city and our county, because we're very much inland. It was around 3 a.m. I went and jumped into my mom's bed with her, and we heard some slamming against the sliding glass door because her master bedroom faced a portion of the pool. And, she's like, I think something is banging against the glass door. And she's like, you're going to have to come out with me, because if it's something like a piece of siding from the pool cage, we're going to have to bring it in. And me, reluctant, 3 a.m., freaked out, fine. We open the door, the winds are blowing, it's out of control. I'm getting drenched in my little white t-shirt that I sleep in. And yes, there's a little piece of siding on the inside of the cage that was banging into the glass. So we had to yank it down and pull it into the bedroom. And I just remember my mom, we can't see, it's dark, and she's just yelling at me, and I'm just getting wet. I'm trying not to cut my hands. I'm trying not to fall. And I'm scared. I'm scared because I've never felt this amount of pressure of wind and air against me. And so we get it in, everything's fine. That was really the only damage that we had, but there was a lot of down power lines, a lot of trees. It was very much chaos in our community. We've had some other storms since then, but relatively Florida's been pretty quiet with the storms until this year. And I will say that I felt that this year, being the year of transformation, we're entering into that age of Aquarius astrologically, was going to be the year of storms. And the reason I say that is there has been an energy building within Florida, and I'm not blaming people or anything, but there is an energy building in Florida that is attracting tempests. And I think that is a reflection, let it be a mirror of the energy of the people in Florida around politics, around religion, around laws, around a lot of different things. There has been an influx, a huge amount of influx of people that have moved to Florida since 2020. And you could say that, Florida's starting what I think to be at capacity energetically. And so it is going to be a brewing pot to call in these changes. And I, for one, love storms. I love hurricanes. I'm not going to lie. Do I not love it from the human perspective of loss of life, of destruction and absolute chaos and pain and grief? No, absolutely not. But the natural, powerful spirit of the hurricane, yes. It makes me feel empowered. It makes me harness a lot of that air, water, earth, and fire elements, all of the elements. And it's just kind of like a regenerator for me. Like I'm getting my battery recharged. It makes me think clearly. It makes me focus. It opens up my creative, part of my brain. And that's why I'm recording the podcast right now in the middle of the storm, because I am channeling the energy of the storm. I'm using it for my personal use, for my creative projects, for my business, and whatever other things I want to bring into fruition at this time. So there's hurricane right now. I've been very quiet on my social media. I've been putting out some messages of support, encouragement for people to be smart, to be intelligent, to take refuge, to protect themselves, because, there is no control. Now, what I have not been a part of is the doomsday, the gloom, the freaking out, all of this. And that's because I don't want to be part of the energetic collective that is brewing because of that. I understand from the human perspective, once again, it is going to cause fear. It is going to cause anxiety. It's a very human reaction. But I am coming from a spiritual and energetic standpoint. And because of the dream I'm about to tell you that I had in August, I channeled the storm that was coming. And it was such a beautiful experience, and the messages that I received from it, that when it came, because I thought it was going to come in September, but when it's here now, I just have this profound sense of peace. Like, this is what needs to happen. It's the natural course of things. It's a natural cycle. And all will be well. It will be what it's going to be. Neither right or wrong, good or bad. It's just the cycle of life. So in August, I woke up from a dream. Generally around 3 or 4 a.m. is when I have my wake up moments. And I had this dream of looking at the state of Florida as if you were looking on a globe or looking on a map. I'm like floating above the state of Florida. And there is wind swirling all around me. I see lightning come down. I see the rains. It's blowing across the land. And I hear a voice say to me, this is the power of 3. 3 storms to come through. It's not evil. It's not darkness. It's just the way of the earth resetting herself. This is the age of change. Transitions are coming. And so some of the topography around the world with different occurrences are going to shift. And I said, can you explain that to me? And they said, whether it's hurricane, whether it's tornado, whether it's volcano, whether it's earthquake, typhoon, tsunami, there will be certain areas that will experience the shakeup of the earth. Because the earth needs to reset her energy. And because we are transient and temporary beings living on this planet, we are a part of that change, the ripple effect of that change. And I said, well, what can we do as people, as humans, living in this state that you're telling me storms are going to come? And they said, there is no control. You must do what you feel is smart for yourself. Find safety in the refuges that are around you. But the storm is going to do what it's going to do. And they kept reiterating, this storm is not dark. This storm is not evil. There is no evil with the change of tides. And they said, it's being allowed to happen. It's just part of the cycle. And that made me feel really secure. Anybody else, I'm a lunatic, or that's crazy, or that's demonic, or whatever. It doesn't matter. To me, it made me feel secure. And then I asked, will my family and I specifically suffer during the storms? And they said no. And they said, we can't say that you won't be inconvenienced. We can't say that your community won't have destruction. It's going to be a fair level across the board. And so they said, just stay grounded. Just continue to be in the present. And let go of the labels of duality when it comes to these natural occurrences. It's a reminder of how powerful the earth is. It's a reminder for us to wake up and connect to her, to take care of her, to nurture her as she nurtures and protects us. She hosts us on this planet. We are long-term visitors. And sometimes the earth just wants to remodel. And that's what it is. It's just a remodeling. And so I woke up from the dream and I was like, whoa, okay. They're talking about some storms right now on the Weather Channel and on the news at that time, brewing all the way off the coast of Africa, brewing down in the Caribbean. And I said, maybe these storms will come in August or September. It's a hot month. We've had storms in September. I wasn't expecting it in October, but here we are. And so I am grateful that I was notified of it. And maybe if I am the person just to spread a message like this, it's not going to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. But if it does resonate with you, take it in, and I hope that this gives you a sense of grounding if you're in Florida or if you have been affected by the other storms that have come through this season. You will be okay. Everything will rebuild. Whatever chaos and destruction on a human material level has occurred, it will be rebuilt. I think the spirit of the earth is just reminding us to tap into our true selves and to love one another and to help one another and to have empathy and compassion for one another, but also for her as well. We have to take responsibility and accountability in whichever way possible for how we treat the earth. We need to be better at it. Are we going to be perfect? No. And it's not about, corporations and chemical plants and nuclear plants and whatever are the emissions. No, we all have a responsibility. We chose to incarnate on this rock, on this planet. We all have a responsibility to treat our forever mother with respect that she deserves. Now, this isn't a punishment. Storms, natural disasters, they aren't punishment. It's just her moving energies and shifting frequencies. That's all it is. And so we have to shift our frequency to that what's happening around us naturally. And that's shamanism. And I think that's why I've always loved storms, because it was my deep intrinsic soul root tied to shamanism and tying myself and feeling the spirit of the storm. Now, in shamanism, we believe that everything on the earth, including storms, has a spirit. It's not dark or evil or wanting to cause harm. It's just their energy. Like we all have souls, there is a spirit within it. Mayans believe Huracan was a Mayan god that controlled the lightning, that controlled the thunder, that controlled the rain. In other shamanistic cultures, they could see the hurricane as one with an evil eye spirit. But there is a reverence for storms. And so I believe that hurricanes are also a mirror and representation of the chaos that we as humans carry inside as well. And I think what the spirit of any storm tells you is you can't run away from your problems. And my client actually said something to me yesterday that was a beautiful metaphor. She used the metaphor of the white buffalo, saying that buffalo actually run towards a storm when they feel and know it's coming. Why? Because they know that they have a better chance of surviving by going towards the storm than trying to hide somewhere else, knowing that the storm could come to that area and destroy it. They'd rather face it on first and be done with it and get through it and let the storm pass and things calm down. If you think about hurricanes, the way that hurricanes are structured, we have the outer bands that are just powerful, powerful. And in the center of the eye, there is peace. There's no chaos. But in reality, there's no chaos in the center because you've already endured the chaos from the outside. It's the pressures of the outside that create peace on the inside. So, when you're facing problems and problems are coming barreling at you, sure, you can run away from it, you can sidestep it, but it doesn't mean it's still going to not barrel through your life over and over and over. So why wouldn't you want to face that problem head on and deal with all of the initial pain, suffering, chaos, transformation, everything that comes with up-leveling yourself and up-leveling your growth? Then try to get to the eye of the storm, because once the eye passes, sometimes it's even worse afterwards. And that's life. You can't control it. And so, as a point of reflection for me, I think that's what I'm gathering about the hurricane as well, is I can't run away from my problems. I can't wait for the eye of the storm to come into my life, and then I come back in and feel good and be like, whoo, dodge that bullet. And then that eye passes and I'm back at it again. Run towards the problem. Deal with it now. Because the faster you deal with it now, the faster you will get through it. The faster that you will come to understanding, the faster that you will heal. So that when it passes, and it will, when the next one comes through, you know what you need to do and you know what you need to anticipate. And prepare yourself and feel a greater sense of grounding and resilience and strength within yourself. So hurricanes, powerful spirits, powerful times of transformation. I'm grateful for the storms. I'm grateful for the wind and the water and the earth that moves and changes. I'm grateful for the energy shifts. I'm grateful for the frequency alterations. I'm going to do a little card reading today for those of you that are watching on YouTube and for those of you that are listening to this. Let's just do a card reading to center ourselves. Obviously, this episode will premiere after the storm, but it might premiere during another hurricane. You know, I feel that there might be a third one coming to Florida. There's a 50-50 chance. And if it would be next week. So maybe this will be during the next storm. And you find this, and this will help you to stay grounded, to help give you a different perspective. So we're going to do a reading. And we're going to just ask the universe to give us a message for the collective right now, to help us to understand the chaos in our life and to not be afraid to face it, to not be afraid to analyze those darker parts of ourselves that are going to get stirred up, to analyze our fears and our worries and our mechanisms that put them in place that prohibit us from finding stability and grounding. So what is a message for us, universe, right now, for those that see this or hear this during Hurricane Milton here in Florida? Okay. And we're using the deck. It's called Higher Self Oracle. And it's about the higher self, the higher consciousness, our true, most aligned self speaking to us. The message is crystal clear. The first card. We are coming into this reading as a collective, many of us, from a state of worry. Of course, it's natural. We don't know how it's going to go until it gets here. People are saying online, it's like being stalked by a turtle. And for me, turtles are my totem animal. So I'm like, yes, turtle power. Absolutely. I love that medicine. But it's also Let's take a moment and pause and breathe and recalibrate ourselves and ask ourselves if we have done everything that we could to protect ourselves, if we have sought rescue, and we're here in our homes, should we continue to exacerbate the worry that's already going to be naturally there because of the force of a grand natural disaster that's coming for us? No. It doesn't help the situation. It's not going to make the storm disappear. It's not going to make the storm dissipate. You're actually increasing the lower energy vibration to amplify things around you. It's about shifting out of the frequency of worry into the frequency of trust, out of the frequency of fear into the frequency of acceptance. The energy of the present is asking you to be in balance. Do the things that you need to do right now to be in balance, whether it's a physical storm or a storm within your life. What are the practices that you are doing? Are you taking time to reflect and go within yourself and say, I am fucking imbalanced. What can I do to find some kind of equilibrium? Am I doing that? Or am I just working myself up? Because maybe it's better for me to be worked up so I can push that out of my mind and not have to deal with my storm. Because maybe it is scary to deal with the storm. Because I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. But the thing is, you need to take a step towards finding that inner balance for you. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. But you have to take the step. The challenge for the collective is we don't have trust. All the prayers in the world, all the let's speak energy, positive energy to this storm, all of that, we are not trusting at the intrinsic level. A lot of us aren't. A lot of us are. If all of us truly were trusting, we would do what we need to do. We would help one another. And then we would just stay in quiet stillness and contemplation and allow the energy of the storm to regenerate us, to empower us. So the universe is asking to trust. To trust. You've done everything that you can. If this is a storm in your life personally, trust that there is a reason that you are going through this. If you are facing a physical storm like we are right now, trust that you have done everything that you could possibly do to protect yourself. Trust that the universe has your back. Trust. It's asking you. And it's also asking you, the recommendation is to process your anger. Yes, there is anger. Process that anger. Ask yourself, why am I angry? What is coming? Is it from my worry? Is it from my fear? Is it because I have to actually deal with this? Is it because I feel like it's disrupting my regular normal flow of life? So what? Take this time. Be in the present. Process your anger. Figure out what is driving the anger. Because anger can be a force of creativity, of rebirth, of transformation. But it can also be revealing that this is a time where you are really scared. We need to work through those fears. We need to find that place of grounding. So we're not projecting fear and anger onto everybody and saying, you're right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. Process that. Understand that. Embrace your fear. Alchemize, transform your fear into something that can support your inner balance. That's the recommendation. And the outcome? What else? Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Be in sync with the storms in your life. Be in sync with the external physical storms. The universe is asking you to connect. It's just doing its thing. But if you can connect to that power and harness that power, my God, you are opening doors. A profound shift and movement for yourself. A profound awakening in awareness and healing. You're opening yourself up to greater love and understanding. That we are all connected here in this cosmos. We're all here connected on this earth. And it's okay. It's okay. It's just part of the shift. It's just part of the natural cycle of death and rebirth. We must find acceptance. We must try to find a way to surrender as much as possible. When you let go, that fear dissipates. That worry is really not as strong. And maybe you can find a little bit of peace and serenity throughout the process, throughout the journey. And always remember that storms are temporary. They come in and they come out. And it's about moving forward and taking the lessons and being grateful and applying what we learned. Keep changing and keep growing and keep shifting. Hurricane Milton, I for one am grateful for the lessons. So, that's my shamanic perspective. Rock you like a hurricane, baby. Rock you like a hurricane. I want to say thank you to those of you that have followed along this episode. I want to say that whether you find this during a storm in your personal life or a physical storm or any other natural disaster, you are loved and protected. You didn't cause any of this. This is just the natural order of things. But do what you need to do to always protect yourself, to seek refuge, to help one another. And if life changes for you and it may seem like you've lost everything, you will rebuild. There is hope. Believe it, trust it, act on it. Us as humans, these type of events really activate our true empathetic souls in a way like no other. So if that's you, activate yourself. If you're safe, wonderful. If you have no storms happening in your life, activate yourself to provide love and support for those that do. There is a purpose and a plan for you. Trust that you will be protected. Trust that the universe has your back. And you're a fucking amazing human. If you liked what you saw and what you heard in today's episode, please like and subscribe and follow and share this podcast, share this episode with somebody that can use some love and support in their life. Until next time, be well. Sat Nam, friend.